Hello and welcome to Defense India podcast. And before we start this video, please do like, share and subscribe to the channel.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Defense India podcast, a podcast where we discuss matters related to India's internal security and much more than that. And joining me on the podcast is Vicky Nanjava. Vicky, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Akash. Thank you so much.
So, Vicky, historic, visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Ukraine, the first ever Indian Prime Minister who went to Ukraine, and he also didn't take any flight. He went by a 10-hour train to reach to Ukraine. So, first of all, I just want to get your insight about how do you view this visit by Prime Minister Modi to Ukraine in terms of will it help in decreasing the escalation that is happening between Russia and Ukraine?
Historic, yes. Symbolic too.
Yeah.
I would leave it at that for that moment because see, Akash, the thing is when he visited Russia, there was a lot of criticism, from the West as well as Ukraine. That how could he visit Russia? They completely forget that, the kind of relationship we have shared with Russia, even, when it was USSR, so we have our own equations and, we have to think of ourselves and all that. And now this is something, that has been triggered because, Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and that was Putin's grouse that, NATO coming there, meaning, they're getting closer to him and things like that. So I think it is entirely their headache. And, for the past 2 years, they have tried, they've tried with sanctions, they've tried, all sort of things, arm twisting, talks, everything. Nothing seems to have worked. So now it looks like, you go play the peacemaker, So
Right.
that is one thing, but we have a lot of our own dynamics and, a lot of our own problems there. So I would, call this whole thing as kind of a balancing act on and a tightrope walk, Akash. I mean, nothing more than that, actually.
Right, Vicky, and we all saw those images of PM Modi, hugging Zelensky and then putting a hand on his shoulder. Zelensky, getting visibly, he was emotional watching those videos being played out of children who lost their life during this whole conflict. So of course, for the pictures and all, it is very good and very much. But as far as India is concerned, what do you think? Does Ukraine play any sort of a important role in India's foreign policy as far as we know that there are a lot of Indian students travel to Ukraine to study medical and all, and of course India was one of those countries who evacuated not just their students but students from neighboring countries also from Ukraine. But apart from that, I don't think so Ukraine plays a very important role. But yes, this escalation as far as the global geopolitics is concerned, I think plays a very crucial role for India also. Don't you think that in terms of when it comes to US, and we know that Joe Biden is not going to be the next president over there. There's definitely going to be a change, either Kamala Harris or is it going to be Donald Trump? We don't know. But yes, either of these two. So this visit, does it somehow impact India's long-standing relationship with Russia? Because just 6 weeks ago, as you said that PM Modi visited Putin, and there was a lot of warmth in their meeting. And India has a long-standing relationship with Russia back in the days of USSR also. So how have we, put some dent in our relationships with Russia as far as, this visit by the Prime Minister is concerned?
See, I mean, in terms of diplomacy, I don't see, anything much with Ukraine because, our friendship with Russia is definitely more important, for our diplomatic relations. That is one thing. And India moving a little bit towards the West is more to do with the China factor, which, which is, hanging on our head out here. That is one thing. And I do not know how much the West would, really go out of its way to, help India when it comes to China, because, what I've noticed is that the West has got very vested interest. That is the one thing that I've noticed. I don't think. See, we have signed for MOUs. When the Prime Minister was there in Ukraine, but that is relating to culture and agriculture and medical care and etc. These kind of things. But uh, although the thing is, if you also notice, we are one of the biggest importer of arms from Russia. Although
Right.
the percentage has actually, if I'm not mistaken, from 76% between 2009 and 2013, it's dropped down to 36%.
Okay.
But we have been one of the biggest importers of oil during this, and
Correct. During
as
during this
yes,
whole escalation,
the
right?
whole thing, which Ukraine feels is that has somehow helped Russia sustain the war. But then, I mean, in the sense, what do we gain at the end of it, Akash? The thing is, what, at such a point of time, and even if we had taken that stance that we are not going to import from Russia, I think our oil prices would have skyrocketed to something like 200 to 250 rupees a liter of petrol, and that would have come down to bite the common man and things like that. So it's more of a I would say that it's not like this visit to Ukraine has actually angered Russia or something like that, because what he spoke in Russia, he's spoken in Ukraine also, and India has always been advocating this from day one, is that we want peace through dialogue and not through
Right.
war. We don't believe in war. But I think strategically, I still feel that Russia is I would say a bigger and better partner for India when compared to Ukraine. And when I say Ukraine, no, I don't mean Zelensky, because Zelensky, according to me, is nothing just but a stooge of the West. At the end of it, he's not going to be of much help to the Indians in the long run. And yes, I mean there was a certain amount of Western pressure that he visits Ukraine and all that. He can just set the ball rolling, but the West is perfectly capable of talking to Russia as well as Ukraine, and sitting and negotiating across the table and bringing peace. But they want to piggy ride on somebody else's shoulder, because Putin is clearly not listening to them, because he clearly doesn't trust them. That is one thing which is there.
Right.
So I think in the long run, I mean, for many years more, I think Russia is actually a better partner for India when compared to Ukraine.
Yeah, Vicky, but on the other hand, if I see it like that, that you said that okay, Putin is not listening to the West for obvious reasons, and but why would Putin, for a longer period of time, will listen to India also? To be very honest, if we talk in that sense, because at the end of the day, it's his war. India is, okay, India is buying oil for him from him, and we are supporting indirectly. To be very honest, let's say what it is that India is indirectly supporting Russia in their escalation. But that is the end of it. Why would Russia be listening to India as far as coming? It comes to the escalation in Ukraine.
See, it's a simple thing, Akash. Now, the thing is, when we take an issue like, say, we have our internal issues like, Jammu Kashmir, the thing is, we have our own policy on this, and our first reaction every time when somebody reacts is that, this is our internal matter and please stop interfering. That's the same, line that even Vladimir Putin would, toe at the end of it.
Right.
And if you notice, since the war has begun, there have been visits on different levels, prime minister level, foreign minister, defense minister level, and many conversations between what do you call it, India and Russia, as well as India and Ukraine. But the thing is, India has only reiterated one stand, and that is that we are not in favor of war. That is one thing. We've not gone, beyond a certain point to, become so preachy and, try to impose, that, we are going to stop buying oil from you, or we're going to stop importing arms from you. We've not gone that length.
Right.
Where I would, try to say, like what the West did. The thing is, we didn't, follow. I mean, just because the West said you don't buy oil, it's not like we stopped buying oil from them.
Correct.
Okay, so that is one thing, because we have to look after our own personal interests also. And Russia has time and again proven that it has been a friend of India. While the West has been very, shaky, they are not very preachy on a lot of issues when it comes to India, and India has also maintained the same thing. And I don't know, Akash. I mean, I just let me just just get back to the a recent summit, the Ukraine peace summit, which happened in June.
Right.
There was a lot of hard lobbying, by Zelensky, following which that summit happened, and China did not, attend that summit, saying that there was no invitation for Russia. That is one.
Okay.
And India was present, but we did not sign on the joint statement at the summit.
Good.
Okay, so that clearly shows, where we are leaning towards. We are towards Russia, and Russia themselves not being invited for the peace summit. The primary player in the war out there. This, goes on to show that how serious all these people are about this, and then just to, at the end of it, say, now India is the only option. Only India can do it, and then now that India can't, if India has not been able to do it, or India doesn't want to do it, then you put the blame on them.
Right.
So they're playing their own kind of politics, and I don't think we need to fall trap to that.
Yeah, because I think what you said that I think the Polish Prime Minister also said this, that India is the only country that that can negotiate between Russia and Ukraine. So I think that is what they're trying to play, the game of putting the blame on somebody else for for them not playing the game all right. But yes, but in the end, when you said that Russia has been there for India, but when it comes to China, to be very honest, we have not seen that Russia taking a lot of stand, anti-China stance. We have seen that, and of course, well, because both of them are communist countries, to be honest. So that is one thing that they have in common, and that's what they go by, and they both have stood by each other. So in the long run, do you think that India pivoting towards the West and then moving a little bit more further away from Russia, would it help India in terms of countering China? Because to counter China, India needs the help of US and the Western powers, and Russia won't help them there.
No, if you notice one thing, barring statements, Akash, which have come from US, here and there, about respecting territorial integrity, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that the India-China standoff at LAC is, I mean, I think almost 3 years now.
Right.
And I have not seen the US do much. And then, at some level, I've seen also the aggression has come down considerably. And I think if things between India and China worsen, there is one thing, Akash, although there's military standoff, one thing both the countries have managed to do is, keep those diplomatic channels open and keep talking, and things like that. So, there's a status quo ante at the moment. That is one thing there. And definitely, when compared to the rest, to the West, the thing is, West has got, as I said, a lot of vested interest in a lot of things. One is, if they would have hoped that a visit by the Prime Minister to Ukraine, can anger Putin and ruin relationship between India and Russia, which means the relationship with China gets even worse. Okay, that is one thing. And when it comes to China, I think Russia can play that that quiet negotiator at the back between India and China and keep things sane. So I would definitely trust a Putin to do that for India than a West, because West will still only think about its own interests in the region and its competition with China and the economic competition, etc. I don't think US is going to stand up to us and say, yes, there has been a transgression by China. China has to push back. Otherwise, there will be consequences. You're going to sanction China because of this. No, I do not see the West doing anything of that sort. So I think we are okay where we are and things like that. And I think the continued support of Russia and Yeah, while always advising them that
Right.
war is not the option. I think we can tread that path very carefully.
Right. So yeah, we are okay with Russia as far as we keep on buying oil with them.
Not just that, even the arms and and
Even the
this.
arms and all, yes, exactly. So yeah, so because yeah, to be very honest, yeah, I think yeah, Russia has been a long-standing partner for India, and I think you always want to be with the devil that you know rather than with the devil you don't know. So I think that is the game that India should play.
That's true. That's very true. See, the thing is, there has been a lot of leaning towards the US as well as the rest of the Western nations in the past couple of years. Starting off with the nuclear deal when Manmohan Singh was there, and then the frequent visits and the number of MOUs and defense deals we have signed with the West and things like that. But it's all been very carefully done. If you notice one thing, despite the leaning, we are in fact. Part of the BRICS as well as
Right.
the Quad. Okay, so that is one thing, and our relationship with the West, where we have been more pallier with them and things like that, has not exactly ruined any, even an inch of the relationship with Russia. So you can see where I'm coming. So it's
Right.
not just restricted to oil. And there's a lot of things that have gone into it and things like that. And I would still say that India, somewhere at the back of the mind, always knows and realizes that Russia will continue to remain their true friend, at the end.
Got it. Yes, and let's hope for the best for as far as Russian-Ukraine war is concerned. The escalation stops. That is the only thing that we as Indians can say. Rest depends on the US and Russia, to be very honest. And hopefully, if Donald Trump comes, I think there might be some negotiations done between Putin and Trump that might put this escalation to an end. Because I don't think that if Kamala Harris comes to power, there is going to be any end to the escalation as far as this war in Ukraine is concerned. Well, that's all we have in this episode of Defense India podcast. Thank you very much, Vicky, for joining me, and thank you to all our viewers for watching.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Akash. Always a pleasure. Thank you.